Hello and welcome to the 9th video of the Perun Santis video series. Today I will read the complete 8th Santi, verses 113 to 127, and I will talk, amongst other things, about Mimir's well of shame, Hamlet's madness, and the eye of understanding. And I raise my cup to the great and the strong and the mighty Perun Thunderer. And here it begins. Verse 113. Skifatli, sage of the temple of the flower of the fern, of Rusenkin, spoke to Perun most wise. Tell us, wise teacher, what forces lead the aliens to leave their homes in the world of darkness and bring them to us on Midgard earth? The god most wise answered the sage. The aliens covet everything they do not possess. All their thoughts are only about power over all worlds, about capturing riches and creations of light worlds. Yes, because these alien enemies, they cannot create anything. Yeah, they are not creators. They can only destroy, pervert, or manipulate creation. Yeah, that's all they can do. And magic, for example, is an act of creation in harmony with nature. And there is no such thing as black magic. Yeah? All these black magic rituals these people are engaging in has nothing to do with magic whatsoever. All they're doing is they're just celebrating their own sickness by engaging in sick acts, and that's pretty much all they're doing. Yeah? And making people think that they have some kind of true power, yeah? And they can put spells on people and all that kind of stuff. That's the best part of their deception. Because the people who believe that stuff, those are the ones who mirror back to them that this is actually true. So, but it's not. Okay. Okay. Verse 114. The alien's objective is to break the harmony that reigns in the world of light, and to destroy the descendants of the heavenly kin and the great race, because only they can give adequate repulse to the forces of darkness. So they want to break the harmony. Breaking the harmony. So I've talked about the creation of the world from the primeval giant Mimir, who is the primeval sound, voice. And it was separated into many tunes. Yeah, so the creation is a divine song, and they try to break this harmony of the divine song by adding false notes to it. Yeah, so this is their lies. They're adding the lies. They're adding the false notes. But when your heart vibrates in the frequencies of love, and your mind vibrates in the frequencies of truth, thus you are in tune with the divine song, then you can easily hear those false notes added to it. And when we speak about music, we also have to speak about math, because music is math. And I just came across this excellent video that decodes the math behind creation, and I will leave a link in the description below. Okay, let's go on. Still verse 114. So, the minions of the world of darkness think that only they should possess all worlds, which were created by the great Ra-Emcha. And upon arrival to blooming earth, they seek to teach human children greed. For greed kills knowledge, and when knowledge is killed, the shame disappears. And when the shame is buried, truth is oppressed. With the oppression of truth, happiness dies too. The dog is dreaming. When happiness dies, the human perishes. And when the human perishes, all of his riches are taken over by the aliens. They consider wealth to be their most reliable support, and they build their world on wealth. And in the world of darkness, life is only available to those who have riches. A human without riches is like a dead man in a desert. So now I like to talk a little bit about Mimir's well. Because this was talking about, hold on, where was I? Yeah. Talking about, where was it? So, when knowledge is killed, the shame disappears. And when the shame is buried, truth is oppressed. Yeah, and with the oppression of truth, happiness dies too. So when the shame is buried and the truth is oppressed. Mimir's well, this is Norse mythology. Mimir's well. This well is being guarded by this giant called Mimir. And the truth is always hidden in the name. So what is Mimir? Mimir is memory. Yeah? So Mimir's well is the well of memory. And this well holds all the memories, all the thoughts of the human collective consciousness. And what's in this well is all those dark, painful memories and thoughts that we buried because we don't want to deal with them, we don't want to face them. So everything that we don't want to know about is in that well of memory. So the truth that is oppressed and the shame that has been buried lies in the well of memory. And those memories are also part of the whole truth. Yeah, so not only that we are aware of thinking and remembering, but also everything that we're unaware of, everything that's in our subconscious. Yeah, the well of memory, Mimir's well, is a metaphor for our subconscious. Yeah, the dark part that we are not aware of. And those memories are also part of the whole truth, and they must be faced and they must be dealt with. Yeah? And dark to light means that the whole truth, also this truth that is buried and suppressed in our subconscious, yeah, in the dark place, yeah, that what we don't know, that what is hidden, that what we are not aware of, that's in a dark place. It's in darkness. Yeah? And all that must come out into the light and must be faced and dealt with. Yeah? No matter how ugly and painful it will be, but it is the only way to overcome those fears. Yeah? Because The reason why we don't want to face these things, because we're afraid of them. Yeah. And Odin, the All-Father, the spirit of man, he gave one eye as a token to Mimir, so that he would be allowed to have a drink from the cup of memory. So Odin, the spirit of man, he sees all and he knows all, and he knows all about the darkness as well. And there's a story about the two ravens, Hugin and Munin, thought and memory. The two ravens of Odin, they used to be white. The ravens used to be white. And they would fly out every day over the whole world, and they would see and hear everything the humans are doing and thinking and talking about. And then they would come back and they would tell Odin all about it. And then one day Odin said, well, you know, that's nice and all, but that's not enough. And he sent his ravens out during the night to see what the people are thinking and doing and talking about at night. So, you know, under the cover of darkness. And when the ravens came back from their night flight and they saw all the dark things, they turned black. And that's the story about why the ravens are black today. Okay. Forget anything? No. Okay, let's go on. Verse 160. They take away from people their income, relying on the power of their deception, knowing that if they take away from people their security and faith, purpose of life and freedom of spirit, people will destroy themselves. Human children in such a situation in the world of Yavi choose the path of death freely and direct their weapons against the alien villains, for it is better to accept glorious death in righteous battle against alien enemies than to submit to the enemies. People with weak spirit lose their minds or fall under the authority of alien enemies, while others in thirst for hoarding go to serve the aliens. Yeah, and this is a root problem that got us in this situation. It is the greed of the people, the greed over need. The greed leads people to do things for these alien enemies of humanity, so that, you know, they can profit from it. So, yeah. So if it wasn't for the greed of the people, the cabal, the world leaders, would not be as powerful. The misfortunes of these lost people are worse than death. So as death, according to the law, is the eternal way of the world, and nobody that lives in the world of Yavi has ever surpassed death. So what is worse than death? So death, as referred to as, you know, being the eternal way of the world, is this loop that I've been talking about. Yeah, you're a dead man walking on earth because you're blind, you're asleep, you're disconnected from one soul, disconnected from the truth, the law, and God. So you're blind, sleeping, dead man walking. You don't wake up, you go back to the other side, Navi, after a while you come back, and so on, and you're just a dead man in a world of darkness. So now, what is worse than being stuck in this loop? Worse than being stuck in this loop is being stuck in Navi. Because when you're stuck in Navi and you do not get the opportunity to come back to Yavi, you do not get the chance to ever find your way home and get on the golden way towards the kingdom. Because it has been designed this way that this place, this earth, this world, Yavi, is the only way to get to the golden way and into the kingdom. You have to go through Yavi. You have to. It's the only passage to get into the kingdom. So when you're stuck in Navi, you can, move around in that world, but there is no passage, no way that leads to the kingdom. You have to go through Yavi. So every time you get to Yavi, you get to this earth, you get another chance, to wake up and remember who you are and, get back home. So, yeah. But when you don't get the chance to come here, then you're stuck. Yeah, as I said before, the way to Pravi leads through Yavi in every way. It's just how it is. Okay. Verse 180. Alien enemies drive human children into madness, and more people lose their mind, and their deeds gain in cruelty. And their evil deeds, in their evil deeds, they end up violating blood rules. And for those who are guilty of blood mixing, the gates of hell will be opened wide. Yeah, for example, incest. It's the worst. Absolute worst. And if human, isn't it funny how human sounds like you, man? I just noticed that the other day. And if you, man, do not reject all of that, and if he does not wake up, he will go directly to hell. And the gods will not help him, for he himself chooses his path. So it's all about you. It's all about your path. You decide, you have free will, you choose, and you go the way you choose, and then you just carry the consequences. So hell, hell is basically when you're stuck in Navi. That's pretty much hell. You're in timeout. Yeah. So this is the place where you're banished to. And you're banished from having the chance to get on the golden way. So hell is like, is universal prison. Yes, universal timeout. Yeah, so free will. Staying asleep is also, it's a choice. Yeah. If you have the choice, if you can wake up, you also have the choice to stay asleep. And you have to accept that. When people choose to stay asleep, you have to accept it. Okay, that's their free will. That's what they want to do. But if you get away with not taking responsibility for your own actions in this world, because this is how these false laws are created. They are created to protect people who do not want to take responsibility for themselves. It's these people that say, oh, I'm just doing my job, right? It's not my fault. I'm just doing my job. Well, So all these people who are successfully hiding behind the false laws of this world, there always comes the point of reckoning where they will have to pay up. Because there is no escape from justice of the timeless multiversal law of the great Ra-Emcha. If you don't take responsibility now, you will be forced to do it later. So, okay. Verse 119. The awakening of man can only occur through understanding. And the eye of understanding saves him. Having achieved understanding, the human child looks at the Vedas again, and aspiration for spiritual life becomes a duty again, and conscience becomes the head of all deeds. Listening to conscience, he abhors everything evil. This makes conscience strong, and man creates his own happiness, and in happiness man himself is created. So man is creator and creation at the same time. And the more he follows conscience, the stronger conscience becomes. And the two eyes, we have two eyes. This kind of symbolizes the duality of things. Right and wrong, light and dark. Yeah? And as I said before, there's a field beyond right and wrong, light and dark. Yeah? Rumi, there's a field beyond right and wrong, meet me there. And this is the field that we can enter with the eye of understanding, with the third eye, which is the pineal gland. And this pineal gland has a direct connection, or is the connection to your higher self. Yeah? And also Odin gave his one eye to Mimir to be able to look into the subconscious, yeah, see all the shame that's buried there, all the painful, ugly, dark memories that are hidden there. And by doing so, yeah, by looking into the darkness, he can also then see the whole. Yeah, because as I said, the darkness, the truth we don't want to know about is also part of the truth, unfortunately. Yeah, that's just how it is. And you have to look into your own darkness to see the whole picture. Yeah. So, about that one eye. 120. Tranquil people are always skillful in their affairs, and invariable in their duty before their kin. They don't imagine anything unlawful, and they don't act sinfully. Dishonorable or unreasonable people, be it men or women, who do not succeed in fulfilling their duty before gods and kin are equated with the aliens. Those who have conscience honor gods and ancestors and go the way towards immortality, but not to the world of darkness. Yeah, they go themselves. Free will. They choose their own path. Self-determination, self-governance. And only the conscience, the God-gifted knowledge, the inner voice, the voice of God inside of you, only that will lead you home. And only that will lead you to the golden way that leads to Pravi, which is home, which is origin, which is the source. So all you have to do is listen to the voice of origin and follow this voice, and you will find your way home. It's actually pretty easy. Well, it's not easy, but it's simple. It's not complicated. Yeah, I mean, to do it is hard, but it's not complicated. It's pretty simple. Those of the human children who have come from madness to rage will be threatening. Those who have come to hate good will be called by the people gray, like the aliens, and despicable. Who seeks to take away happiness from good people at the instigation of the aliens in delusion and greed, who is not in control of himself, will not be able to control the anger and retain his own happiness for a long time. For all the riches of those who have gone astray from the way of the light will go to the aliens. And all hearts of the dark forces fill with joy when human children listen to the deceitful speeches of the aliens and go astray from the way of light. And they take the low road, where they accumulate material but not spiritual welfare, by the will of the alien enemies. This road leads their kins to destruction. And alien enemies know that all unrighteous welfare and riches taken away from good people will cloud the human mind, and the soul of humans will become callous. Yeah, so they accumulate material welfare by the will of the alien enemies. That means they gave up their free will, which is also free will. You know, I choose to give up my free will and serve the aliens. So giving up your free will in this in this matter is also called, selling your soul to the devil. Yeah, you give up your free will to whatever authority you choose. That's selling your soul to the devil, because then you're not in control over it anymore. Other people are in control of your soul. Children of human kins, do not listen to the words of the aliens, for they are deceitful and want to destroy your souls in order that they would not reach celestial Asgard and be eternal wanderers in pitch darkness. And do not allow the aliens to your daughters, for they will seduce your daughters and deprave their pure souls, and spoil the blood of the great race. For the first man of a woman leaves images of spirit and blood. The alien blood images oust the light spirit from human children. And blood mixing leads to destruction. And this kin degenerates and dies without having healthy descendants, for there will not be that internal force that kills all diseases, that will be brought to Midgard Earth by alien enemies coming from the dark world. Okay, so now let's just ask the question. Who are these alien enemies that come from the dark world, that bring diseases, that seduce humans with lies, and that make humans commit evil deeds? So we talked about this dark world. I talked about Mimir's well being the metaphor of the subconscious, the dark place, yeah, where those memories and thoughts are hidden that we buried and try to forget about. And so can it may be that these alien enemies are the thoughts and the memories out of this collective human subconscious? Yeah, are they maybe our own buried and oppressed thoughts and memories? So when we look at addiction, for example, and an addiction is also a dependency. And anything can turn into a dependency or an addiction. It starts with a habit maybe. Or it starts with a curiosity. Out of curiosity, you try a drug maybe. Or out of a weakness. Yeah, maybe you drink alcohol or take some kind of drug because you think that without it, you're not as fun as others, or whatever. So out of a habit, a weakness, or curiosity, an addiction can develop. And so it can be anything, right? It could be work, sex, sugar, gambling, alcohol, drugs. Yeah, and just for the sake of the dramatic, let's just look at drug addiction. Yeah, so you take this drug, and it makes you feel good. Yeah, you get high. That's why it's called high. It makes you feel good. Yeah, and you like this feeling, and you want to feel it again and again, and then you want to feel it all the time. And then comes a point where you can't be without it. Yeah, you need it. You need that feeling. You need that drug to live. Yeah, you think you need it to live, to survive. Yeah, and so you become addicted to the substance that you put into your body yourself. Yeah, and this substance takes over control over your mind and your behavior. And when you're really addicted, let's say some drug like cocaine or heroin or something that's also costly, you're going to have to find ways to, support your addiction. You're going to have to find ways to get the money to buy the drugs. So you might steal from people, you might betray people, lie to people, you might rob people, and you even might kill people, to get the money. So this addiction leads you to commit these evil deeds. Yeah. And yeah. So you end up putting your whole mind, everything that you are, your whole mind, body, and soul, you put everything towards serving this addiction. Yeah. And then you say, oh, it's not my fault, it's my addiction made me do it. So or like, alcohol, like when people say, oh, my wife is so terrible, I can only, take it, when I have a couple beers. So, I only drink because my wife is terrible, so they always, blame outside sources for their own addiction, for what they're doing to themselves. Yeah, so just, little example. And yeah, and with these addictions, what you do, you destroy your own body. Alcohol, drugs, sugar, whatever, over time, you will destroy your own body. And what is your body? That's your home. That's your temple. Yeah, your soul, your mind lives in this body. So your body is your home, your homeland, your land, your world. Yeah? You destroy your own world. Yeah, everything has double or multiple meanings. Okay, let's go on. Verse 125. Do not listen to the exhortations of the alien seducers, and don't become attracted to their deceitful promises. Yeah, like the drug that promises, to make you feel better and stronger and smarter and whatever. Yeah? Alien enemies have no compassion, neither for human children of the heavenly kin, nor for creatures similar to them, because everyone that came from the dark world, or his offspring born on Midgard or another earth, thinks only about idle life and about exploiting the work of others and the trustfulness of human children. Yeah, the parasites. You can also think about diseases, about a virus, a parasite, yeah, that takes over your body. By deceit and ruse and unrighteous lie, aliens obtain the trust of people, boasting about their friendship with the elders of the kin. They enmesh the human children with lie, and they pervert their pure souls and accustom them to mean deeds. Alien enemies call their lust joy, and the birth of children vicious madness. And they call on human children not to observe the paternal traditions. Yeah, the first one to come see the doctor is the one who wants to kill his father. Because that's where the sickness begins. Human children of the kins of the great race, and you, descendants of the heavenly kin, be pure in soul and spirit, and let pure conscience be the measure of your deeds. Banish from all your lands alien enemies and all their offsprings, or else they will destroy your light souls with their spiritlessness. And by their vicious deeds they will ruin your bodies, and will use you and your descendants in their dark deeds, and with your sons and daughters they will comfort their flesh. And now we take a look at what can happen when truth is oppressed and shame is buried, and what one who knows the truth has to do to survive in a world where the lie is law. And on that note, I give a warm welcome to Francis Bacon's Prince of Denmark. Cheers to Hamlet. You can see Francis in the back up there in the shelf. He's watching. He's not going to miss this performance. Yeah, I think he's looking forward to it already. Francis. Okay. And I also leave the link to the text of Hamlet in the description, because this is old English, and the way the sentences are arranged are a little bit different than what we're used to today. For example, words that we would put at the end, he puts in the front of the sentence, and it's just it's a little different, and it might help not only to hear it but also to see it at the same time. It might help to understand what's actually being said. And I'll do my best, to pronounce it in a way that it's easy to understand the meaning. But as I said, it's old language, and the modern ear, it's difficult for the modern ear to understand. So, Hamlet, Prince of Denmark. So, Hamlet's father, the king of Denmark, died. And pretty soon thereafter, not only 2 months later, his mother, the queen, remarried, and not anyone. She married his uncle, so the brother of the king that died. And Hamlet smells something fishy, and he is very upset about the situation, because he thinks, she shouldn't marry so quick after, her husband has died. So he's very upset, and the people don't understand why. So we start with the first monologue of Hamlet, and I cannot tell you right now exactly which scene. I didn't write it down, but it's probably Act 1, maybe Scene 2. Scene 1 or 2, if you're reading along, if you have the text up. So it's the first monologue of Hamlet. Okay. Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt, thaw, and resolve itself into a dew. Or that the everlasting had not fixed his cannon against self-slaughter. Oh God, oh God. Okay, let's talk about this real quick. So Hamlet is pretty much saying, he wants the solid flesh to melt, and, he would like to kill himself, but if it wasn't for God, not allowing this. But we just read in the Santis in verse 116 that human children in such a situation in the world of Yavi choose the path of death freely. Yeah? Because it is better to accept glorious death in righteous battle against alien enemies than to submit to the enemies. So this idea and this notion that suicide is forbidden by God, okay, that's part of the slave rules that come from the church. Because God is the law, and the law doesn't have feelings. And the law has neither mercy, nor does it punish. Okay, the law is just the law. And if you don't, and if you go against the law, then you're just going to have to face the consequences for your own actions. And you decided, you chose the body to be born into, you chose the place to be born into. Yeah? You chose this experience. And when you say halfway through, it's like going to school and, in sixth grade or something, say, okay, that's it, bye, I'm leaving, I've had enough. So, when you decide, okay, I'm leaving this experience for whatever reason, what you're doing is you're depriving yourself of the opportunity to learn lessons, and to learn important lessons that might lead to a higher level of understanding. So if you, end school early, you leave early, and you don't get to learn these lessons in this experience, then you're just going to have to come back again and start over. So, that's what's going to happen. That's the consequence. Yeah, but God is not going to punish you for anything. Okay, it's your decision. Okay. How weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable seem to me all the uses of this world. Fie on it! Ah, fie! It is an unweeded garden that grows to seed. Things rank and gross in nature possess it merely. That it should come to this. But 2 months dead, nay, not so much, not 2. So excellent a king, that was to this Hyperion to a satire. So loving, so excellent a king that was to this Hyperion to a satire. So he is comparing his father that died with the new king who is his uncle, and he's comparing the two. So his father was the Hyperion, like a god, and the uncle who's the king now, he's just a satire, like, a man-goat. So that's what he's talking about. So now he's talking about his father, the Hyperion, so loving to my mother that he might not beteem the winds of heaven visit her face too roughly. Beteem is an old world, it means permit. Heaven on earth, must I remember? Why, she would hang on him as if increase of appetite had grown by what it fed on, and yet within a month, let me not think on it, frailty, thy name is woman. A little month, or ere those shoes were old with which she followed my poor father's body, like Niobe all tears. Why she, even she, oh God, a beast that one's discourse of reason would have mourned longer, married my uncle, my father's brother, but no more like my father than I to Hercules. So, again, comparing his uncle, who is, to his father, what he is to Hercules, because he is not Hercules at all. Within a month, ere yet the salt of most unrighteous tears had left the flushing in her galled eyes, she married. O most wicked speed! To post with such dexterity to incestuous sheets. It is not, nor it cannot come to good, but break my heart, for I must hold my tongue. Yeah, so there we have the incest. So Hamlet is very well aware that they're violating laws of Rita. Yeah, Rita, the laws of blood, race, and purity. Yeah? And incest, this blood mixing, that's the worst sin of all. And Hamlet knows this, and he sees this, and he sees it's not right, but he says his heart must break because he cannot speak about it, because nobody will understand, because they're all living in the illusion, in the darkness, in the lie. They're disconnected from the law. So, okay. Now the next scene is okay. So his friends Marcellus and Horatio. Horatio is like his only real friend. They enter the scene, and so they exchange some words, and then Hamlet asks Horatio why he has come. And this little scene also gives a little insight to the humor of Hamlet. So Horatio says, "My lord, I came to see your father's funeral." "I pray thee, do not mock me, fellow student. I think it was to see my mother's wedding." "Indeed, my lord, it followed hard upon." "Thrift, thrift, Horatio, the funeral-baked meats did coldly furnish forth the marriage tables." Using the leftovers from the funeral for the marriage, for the wedding. "Would I had met my dearest foe in heaven, or ever I had seen that day, Horatio. My father, methinks I see my father." "Where, my lord?" "In my mind's eye, Horatio." "I saw him once, he was a goodly king." "He was a man, take him for all in all. I shall not look upon his like again." And Horatio says, "My lord, I think I saw him yesternight." "Saw? Who?" So Horatio and Marcellus, the night before, on the patio by the castle, they saw the ghost, or what they thought to be the ghost of the king. And they tell Hamlet about this appearance that they had, this vision that they had. And Hamlet obviously gets very excited, and he wants to see this ghost too. So they make plans to meet again the next night on the patio and wait for this ghost to come again. And the ghost does not disappoint. He appears and has a little chat with Hamlet. And now this is Act 1, Scene 5. So enter the ghost and Hamlet. Hamlet says, "Where wilt thou lead me? Speak, I'll go no further." The ghost, "Mark me." Hamlet, "I will." The ghost says, "My hour is almost come, when I to sulphurous and tormenting flames must render up myself." "Alas, poor ghost!" "Pity me not, but lend thy serious hearing to what I shall unfold." "Speak, I am bound to hear." "So art thou to revenge, when thou shalt hear." "What?" "I am thy father's spirit, doomed for a certain term to walk the night, and for the day confined to fast in fires, till the foul crimes done in my days of nature are burned and purged away. But that I am forbid to tell the secrets of my prison house. I could a tale unfold whose lightest word would harrow up thy soul, freeze thy young blood, make thy two eyes like stars start from their spheres, thy knotted and combined locks to part, and each particular hair to stand on end, like quills upon the fretful porpentine." The porpentine is an archaic term for porcupine. And when you look up the porcupine, you will find there's also, there's several versions of the porcupines, bigger ones and smaller ones and whatever. And there's this one There's this one kind of porcupine, a very small one that only weighs like 2 pounds, and it's called the Rothschild porcupine. Okay, the ghost goes on. But this eternal blazon must not be to ears of flesh and blood. Listen, 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 oh listen, if thou didst ever thy dear father love. Oh God! Revenge his foul and most unnatural murder. Murder! Murder most foul, as in the best it is, but this most foul, strange, and unnatural. Haste me to know it, that I, with wings as swift as meditation or the thoughts of love, may sweep to my revenge. I find thee apt. And duller shouldst thou be than the fat weed that roots itself in ease on Lethe wharf, wouldst thou not stir in this. Now, Hamlet, here it is given out that sleeping in my orchard a serpent stung me. So the whole ear of Denmark is by a forged process of my death rankly abused. Means they're lied to, they're being lied to, they're being abused. But know, thou noble youth, the serpent that did sting thy father's life now wears his crown. Oh, my prophetic soul, my uncle! I, that incestuous, that adulterate beast, with witchcraft of his wit, with traitorous gifts, oh, wicked wit and gifts, that have the power so to seduce, one to his shameful lust, the will of my most seeming virtuous queen. So, turns out she's not as virtuous as she seemed. Oh, Hamlet, what a falling off was there! From me, whose love was of that dignity that it went hand in hand even with the vow I made to her in marriage, and to decline upon a wretch whose natural gifts were poor to those of mine. But virtue, as it never will be moved, though lewdness courted in a shape of heaven, so lust, though to a radiant angel linked, will sate itself in a celestial bed and prey on garbage. But soft, methinks I scent the morning air. Brief let me be, sleeping within my orchard, my custom always of the afternoon. Upon my secure hour thy uncle stole, with juice of cursed Hebenon in a vial. So Hebenon, or Hebenon, I don't know how to pronounce it, Hebenon, that's some kind of plant, and it's not really sure what kind of plant exactly Shakespeare is talking about here, but it's a plant. So with the juice of this cursed plant in a vial, and in the porches of my ears did pour the leprous distilment, whose effect holds such an enmity with blood of man that swift as quicksilver it courses through the natural gates and alleys of the body, and with a sudden vigor does possess and with a sudden vigor does posset and curd, like eager droppings into milk, the thin and wholesome blood. So did it mine. And a most instant tetter barked about, most lazar-like, with vile and loathsome crust, all my smooth body. Thus was I, sleeping, by a brother's hand of life, of crown, of queen at once dispatched, cut off even in the blossoms of my sin, unhouselled, disappointed, unanaled, or unanaled, unanaled, no reckoning made, but sent to my account with all my imperfections on my head. O horrible, most horrible! If thou hast nature in thee, bear it not. Let not the royal bed of Denmark be a couch for luxury and damned incest. But howsoever thou pursuest this act, taint not thy mind, nor let thy soul contrive against thy mother aught. Leave her to heaven and to those thorns that in her bosom lodge to prick and sting her. Fare thee well at once. The glowworm shows the matin to be near, and begins to pale his uneffectual fire. Adieu, adieu, Hamlet, remember me. So now Hamlet knows the truth. He's, it's assured. And so now he's not only carrying this burden of knowing the truth in the world of the lie, he also kind of has the mission to revenge this act. So, So since this meeting, Hamlet starts acting more and more strangely. And what makes the new king a little bit nervous, because he doesn't know what's behind this, and he doesn't know if Hamlet knows something or senses something. So anyway, so Hamlet's strange behavior makes the king, who is guilty, nervous. So the king orders, several people, his minions, to keep an eye on Hamlet, because he says, I think Hamlet, he's starting to go a little insane, and, we have to protect him from himself, so keep an eye on him, and, tell me what he does and says, so on. So, okay. And Hamlet, Hamlet said of himself, he's not exactly a Hercules, so he's not the classic hero. And so he crafts a different plan to, start on his revenge, to fulfill his mission. Okay, and so meanwhile, the king had his little minion sent out for a group of actors to come to the castle, and entertain Hamlet and distract Hamlet. And Hamlet, he uses this method against the king by he rehearses the murder scene with this group of actors, to be performed in the castle in front of everybody. And his goal is to find out by the reaction of the king whether he's guilty or not, and whether the ghost has spoken the truth or not. So Hamlet wants to know, is this really all true? So he wants to kind of catch the king in the act by his reaction to the performance. Okay. Indeed, Hamlet and his friend Horatio both bear witness to the king calling for the lights, and he leaving the hall and canceling the rest of the show, And he retires to his room, marvelous distempered. And here now I will read the monologue of the king after he has seen these actors perform the scene of the murder that he committed. So, Oh, my offense is rank, it smells to heaven. It has the primal eldest curse upon it, a brother's murder. Pray can I not, though inclination be as sharp as will. My stronger guilt defeats my strong intent. And, like a man to double business bound, I stand in pause where I shall first begin, and both neglect. Yeah, so he's undecided of what to do, and he ends up doing nothing. What if this cursed hand were thicker than itself with brother's blood? Is there not rain enough in the sweet heavens to wash it white as snow? Whereto serves mercy but to confront the visage of offense? And what's in prayer but this twofold force, to be forestalled ere we come to fall, or pardoned being down? Then I look up, my fault is past. But oh, what form of prayer can serve my turn? Forgive me my foul murder? That cannot be, since I am still possessed of those effects for which I did the murder, my crown, mine own ambition, and my queen. May one be pardoned and retain the offense? In the corrupted currents of this world, offenses gilded hand may shove by justice, and often it is seen the wicked prize itself buys out the law. Yeah. In the world of the false law, this is possible. You can buy yourself out of it. But it is not so above. There is no shuffling. There the action lies in his true nature, and we ourselves compelled, even to the teeth and forehead of our faults, to give in evidence. What then? What rests? Try what repentance can. What can it not? Yet, what can it when one cannot repent? O wretched state! O bosom black as death! O limed soul, that struggling to be free art more engaged! Help, angels, make essay! Bow stubborn knees, and heart with strings of steel be soft as sinews of the newborn babe. All may be well. He retires and kneels. So now he's trying to pray. And while he's down on his knees trying to pray, Hamlet comes along because he's on the way to his mother's chambers, because his mother called for him. She wants to talk to him, you find out what's going on with him. He's acting so strangely, he's kind of, she wants to talk to him. So he's on his way. And on his way to his mother's chamber, he comes across his father's chamber, and he sees him through the door, from the back, kneeling and praying. And he's thinking at this moment, oh, this would be a good opportunity to kill him, right? But then he decides against it, because he thinks, well, if I kill him doing prayer, this may lead to a lesser sentence on the other side for him. Yeah, and but he wants to get the most effective revenge possible. So he says, nah, I better kill him, while he is engaging in an incestuous act. So he goes on. And the king rises again and says, my words fly up, my thoughts remain below. Words without thoughts never to heaven go. Okay, so Hamlet goes on to his mother's room, and they start talking. And then Hamlet starts to tell her, right into her face, what he thinks of her and all the things, she has done. And, yeah, talks to her about her behavior and so on. And of course she doesn't like it. Yeah, and she tells him to stop. But he goes on, it goes back and forth, yeah, back and forth. And while they were talking, Polonius, that's another guy at the castle, another minion of the king, Polonius is hiding behind the curtain, for safety reasons, because when the mother is talking to Hamlet, who is obviously losing his mind and totally crazy, Polonius is back there, just in case something happens. So for security. And so Hamlet and his mother go back and forth, and things kind of, heat up. The mother doesn't want to hear it, and Hamlet, keeps telling her. And so Polonius back behind the curtain gets a little nervous. He doesn't know, should I come out now? Is it getting dangerous now? Do I have, And so he moves behind the curtain, and Hamlet just sees the curtain move, and he takes his dagger and stabs him through the curtain. So Polonius falls down dead. So Polonius lies there dead, and while Hamlet and his mother go on, the ghost appears again. And so Hamlet, takes his eyes off his mother and looks up where he sees the ghost. And the ghost talks to him, and he starts talking to the ghost. So, and this, of course, now is the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity for the mother to say, look at him. Now he's talking to, to ghosts. This is obviously so now it's obvious that he's totally insane, totally crazy, total madman, out of his mind, and everything and anything that he says is just crazy talk. So I don't have to listen to anything he's saying. I don't have to believe anything he's saying. I don't have to think about anything he's saying to me, because look, he's just a crazy man. So, okay. So instead of thinking about her own behavior, she can now, continue to concentrate on the fact that Hamlet is crazy and losing his mind. So, but Hamlet assures her that he is not crazy and gives her some advice. And Hamlet goes on. My pulse, as yours, does temperately keep time and makes as healthful music. It is not madness that I have uttered. Bring me to the test, and I the matter will reword, which madness would gamble from. So he's saying, so he could repeat everything he said, he could repeat word for word. And if you're mad and crazy and insane, and you're just making up stuff, like when you're lying, it's difficult to reword it word for word, because, you're telling the truth. So, okay. Mother, for love of grace, lay not that mattering unction to your soul, that not your trespass, but my madness speaks. It will but skin and film the ulcerous place, whilst rank corruption mining all within infects unseen. Confess yourself to heaven. Repent what's past. Avoid what is to come. And do not spread the compost on the weeds to make them rancor. Forgive me this my virtue, for in the fatness of these pursy times, virtue itself of vice must pardon beg. Yea, curb and woo for leave to do him good. O Hamlet, thou hast cleft my heart in twain. Oh, throw away the worser part of it, and live the purer with the other half. Good night. But go not to mine uncle's bed. Assume a virtue, if you have it not. That monster, custom, who all sense does eat, of habit's devil, is angel yet in this, that to the use of actions fair and good, he likewise gives a frock or livery that aptly is put on. So basically he's saying, as I said before, any habit can turn into an addiction, into a dependency, and, can destroy you. But, you can also assume good habits. Yeah? So it goes either way. So it's kind of, training yourself to be a good person. Okay, he goes on. He explains this further. Refrain tonight, and that shall lend a kind of easiness to the next abstinence, the next more easy, for use almost can change the stamp of nature. Yeah, it's like, a recovering alcoholic. In the beginning, when you say, okay, I'm not going to drink anymore, the first time it's really difficult. The first time you say no, it's really difficult. The next time you say no, it's a little bit easier, and it gets easier and easier over time. Yeah, and when you have said no for a long time, for many times, you have trained yourself, to stay away from what destroys you. And either the devil or throw him out with wondrous potency. Once more, good night. And when you are desirous to be blessed, I will blessing beg of you. For the same Lord, and now he's pointing to Polonius laying on the floor behind the curtain. For the same Lord I do repent. But heaven hath pleased it so to punish me with this, and this with me, that I must be the scourge and minister. I will bestow him, and will answer well the death I gave him. So again, good night. I must be cruel only to be kind. Thus bad begins and worse remains behind. So, everybody says Hamlet is the madman in the castle, but actually Hamlet is the only one, is the only one who has some sense. Okay, so meanwhile, the dead body of Polonius vanished, and they cannot find the dead body. And of course they asked Hamlet, but Hamlet, wouldn't tell them. And so now the king himself comes to ask Hamlet where Polonius is. King Claudius, now Hamlet, where's Polonius? At supper. At supper? Where? Not where he eats, but where he is eaten. A certain convocation of politic worms are eating at him. Your worm is your only emperor for diet. We fed all creatures else to fed us, and we fed ourselves for maggots. Your fat king and your lean beggar is but variable service, 2 dishes, but to 1 table. That's the end. King Claudius, alas, alas! But Hamlet goes on. A man may fish with the worm that has eat of a king, and cat of the fish that has fed of that worm. "What do you mean by this?" the king asks. "Nothing, but to show you how a king may go a progress through the guts of a beggar." King Claudius just had enough and says, "Where's Polonius?" "In heaven. Send hither to see. If your messenger find him not there, seek him in the other place yourself. But indeed, if you find him not within this month, you shall nose him as you go up to the stairs into the lobby." So the king says, "Go seek him there," to some attendants. And Hamlet says, "He will stay there till you come." So now the king really had enough, and he says, "Hamlet, this deed," so this killing of Polonius, right? "This deed for thine especial safety," right? Only for your safety, for your own good, "which we do tender," of course, "as we dearly grieve for that which thou hast done, must send thee hence with fiery quickness. Therefore prepare thyself, the bark is ready, and the wind at help, the associates tend, and everything is spent for England." Yes, so now he wants to ship Hamlet off to England. Get rid of him. Hamlet, "For England? Aye, Hamlet." Hamlet says, "Good." So the plan that the king made with the friends of Hamlet, Güldenstern and Rosenkrantz, they have the order. So they have the order to accompany Hamlet on the boat to England. And upon arrival in England, they have a letter that they're supposed to give to whoever's there to greet them. And in this letter it says that Hamlet is to be beheaded. So the plan is ship him off to England and have him beheaded there and have it done with. So, but on the ship to England, Hamlet finds this letter. He makes some slight changes to the letter, seals it up again, manages to get off the ship and go back to Denmark. And before he does so, he writes a letter home to Denmark saying, "Oh, I'm coming back." So of course now the king is losing it. "Oh no, what happened? Hamlet is coming back." And so he's on his way back. And meanwhile, Ophelia, the daughter of Polonius, has drowned herself in a lake because of the death of her father, and the leaving of Hamlet, and it's all too much for her, and so she drowned herself. So she's dead, and they're planning her funeral. And meanwhile, also the brother of Ophelia has also come to the castle, Laertes, and Laertes is also not a really big fan of Hamlet right now, because Hamlet killed his father and indirectly is also responsible, well, he makes him responsible for indirectly also killing his sister. So there's this Laertes, really upset, really angry with Hamlet, and so the king, he says, "Well, you're such a righteous man, and you must stand up for your father. You must stand up to Hamlet for what he has done." And so they make a plan together, to have a little duel. And and the plan is to poison the tip of the dagger, so that when Laertes in the duel wounds Hamlet, he will die. And just in case, as a backup plan, in case Laertes does not manage to wound Hamlet with a dagger, they also prepare a poisoned cup of wine that they would offer then Hamlet, for a drink, to make sure that they do poison him in this performance. So, okay, so Hamlet comes back, then they have this funeral for Ophelia, and then they have the duel. But things totally go wrong. As they're dueling, the queen mother, drinks from the cup of wine, and the king says, "Oh no, don't drink from it, don't drink from it," but she drinks of it. So, and then so she drinks of the wine, and then Laertes wounds Hamlet, and their daggers get switched around, and so Hamlet now has Laertes' dagger, and he also wounds Laertes with a poisoned dagger. And then the mother realizes she has drank poison. She says, "Oh no, I think I'm poisoned, I'm dying." So she dies. And then Laertes says, "Yeah, that was, a poison cup. And by the way, I also had poison on the tip of my dagger." So Hamlet now also realizes that they were trying to poison him, and the poison was actually meant for him. And then all cry out, "Treason! Treason!" And then Hamlet also wounds the king with the dagger. And then, to top it all off, he then drinks from the cup and says, "Oh, I die, Horatio. The potent poison quite overgrows my spirit. I cannot live to hear the news from England, but I do prophesy the election lights on Fortinbras. He has my dying voice, so tell him, with the occurrence more or less which have solicited. The rest is silence." And Hamlet dies. So now the queen mother is dead, the king uncle is dead, Laertes is dead, and Hamlet is dead. And they're all laying there on the floor, bloody and dead. So then Fortinbras, the Prince of Norway, who also played a role in Hamlet's escaping from the ship and getting back to Denmark. So he arrives with his ambassadors at the scene at the castle, and he asks, "What feast is toward in thine eternal cell, that thou so many princes at a shot so bloodily hast struck?" And his first ambassador says, "The sight is dismal, and our affairs from England come too late. The ears are senseless that should give us hearing." Yeah, so this is the news from England that Hamlet said he would not be able to hear. So now they have come with this news. What is this news? "The ears are senseless that should give us hearing, to tell him his commandment is fulfilled, that Rosenkranz and Güldenstern are dead. Where should we have our thanks? Not from his mouth had it the ability of life to thank you. He never gave commandment for their death." So what this means, Hamlet did slightly change the letter. In the letter it said, "Upon arrival, take Hamlet and behead him." So he just changed the names. Yeah, instead of Hamlet, he just put Rosenkranz und Güldenstern. So what he did not give the order to it, because this was not his idea. He merely turned the direction of the arrow. "But since, so jump upon this bloody question, you from the Polack wars and you from England are here arrived, give order that these bodies high on a stage be placed to the view, and let me speak to the yet unknowing world how these things came about. So shall you hear of carnal, bloody, and unnatural acts, of accidental judgments, casual slaughters, of deaths put on by cunning and forced cause, and, in this upshot, purposes mistook fallen on the inventor's reeds. All this can I truly deliver. Fortinbras agrees, and Horatio adds, but let the same be presently performed, even while men's minds are wild, lest more mischance on plots and errors happen. And Fortinbras gives the order. Let 4 captains bear Hamlet like a soldier to the stage, for he was likely, had he been put on, to have proved most royally. And for his passage, the soldiers' music and the rites of war speak loudly for him. Take up the bodies. Such a sight as this becomes the field. But here shows much amiss. Go, bid the soldiers shoot. Yeah. So what they're doing, they're putting up the shame on center stage for everybody to see. Yeah, they're making this terrible sight the field. Yeah? Dig up the shame and the oppressed truth that is buried in the darkness of the unknown, subconscious. Dig it up, put it up on center stage so that everybody can see it. And if Hamlet was here today, he might say, the beautiful, the famous, the leaders of the world are part of a satanic pedophile club that tortures, rapes, kills, hunts, and eats children, and out of their skin they make shoes. And the people would scream, "Oh, conspiracy theorist, conspiracy theorist, shut him up and put a tinfoil hat on him so that nobody will listen to these terrible things he's saying." And on that note, I raise my glass to those who descend into the darkness in search of the light, without fear to lose oneself, without concern to disappear. That what is sunken down in the subconscious, and all that is painful, unpleasant, and horrible, must be brought up to the surface, must become center stage, the sight of what was hidden must become the field. Look with the eye of Odin into Mimir's well. Dig up the shame of humanity, face your own darkness, fight your own fear, and win the holy war against yourself. Because only the fearless warriors will be served the golden drink. Save yourself and save the world. To this I raise my glass. To the fearless warriors. because this is not a game. Thank you for listening. I see you next time.